And Cody Rhodes won the TNT Championship back for a third time with a win over Sammy Guevara. Cody wrestled Sammy in the very first match on the very first episode of Dynamite 2 years ago. So I went back in my notes, and this is what I wrote, or part of what I wrote about the start of the match. Cody was massively over in the building. He's a star to this audience. He could do no wrong. What a difference 2 years can make. Cody was not as well liked here in Greensboro. I love that they invited David Crockett to be there as a guest and to present the title to the winner after the match. I thought that was a nice touch. Sammy hit this insane double jump 450 to the floor onto Cody. And then he went for a jumping Hurricane Rana off the ring steps. Cody caught him though, and then dumped him, powerbombed him into the front row onto a bunch of clearly planted fans, one of whom had this delayed sell that was comically bad. It's like his brain registered the pain on a 5-second delay. Cody hit the crossroads, Sammy kicked out. Guevara hit the GTH, but Cody kicked out. And Guevara went up for the 630. Cody got his knees up, hit 2 crossroads, and then looked like he was going for a pedigree, but hit the Tiger Driver 98 instead and got the pin. The match was excellent. I enjoyed the match. The finish is going to be very divisive. And maybe that's the point. Maybe that was by design. I know a lot of people are saying that this is what happens when you book yourself into a corner with Cody not being allowed to challenge for the world title. He has to go after the TNT title instead. 3 times now, this man has been the TNT champion, a title that is not even 2 years old. Cody is now a 3-time champion. But I don't understand that argument, the people who say that. Oh, they booked themselves into a corner and so that, now he's got to go after the TNT title. I don't understand that argument. If Cody was challenging for the world title and winning it and taking it away from someone like Hangman Page, he would be getting twice as much hate. He would be getting raked over the coals. You think this is bad. All the Cody hate online and the way he's being booed, it would be 2 or 3 times as bad as it is now. I would rather he not be chasing after the AEW World title. Leave that for people like Hangman and Omega and Danielson and Punk and MJF. Now, I hate that Sammy's run is over. I thought he was having great matches on TV as the champion. He had the great match with Miro, Jay Lethal, others. I don't think his run lasted as long as it should have. I think they ended it prematurely. If this is leading to a more defined heel turn for Cody, then great. But the way he won last night, there was nothing that screamed heel about it. The fans were booing him, but he wrestled like a babyface like he always does. He wrestled no differently than he always does. He even kicked out of Guevara's finish. And Sammy kicked out of his, but he kicked out of Guevara's finish. He didn't cheat. He didn't hold the ropes, rake the eyes. Arn Anderson didn't give him the assist. Nothing like that. Cody is still very much a babyface here. Not unlike, when the fans were booing John Cena or Roman Reigns every week. They didn't wrestle any differently. They just had a building full of people who booed them and hated their guts and were sick of them. But they didn't change the style of match that they had. They wrestled like babyfaces because that's what they were booked to be. Now remember, Dan Lambert said that Scorpio Sky, a heel, is next in line for a shot at the TNT title. They're going to bring the belt to American Top Team. That's what he said. That doesn't sound like a recipe for a Cody Rhodes heel turn either. But if the goal is to feed him wins for a few months and really let this play out, and he grows more and more full of himself on TV, they could pay this off by getting somebody else over huge, because by that point, whoever is the one to beat Cody would be a hero to all the people who are booing him every week. And with that thought in mind, after the taping on Wednesday, there was a confrontation. When the cameras went off, there was a confrontation between Cody and Hook. Hook shook Cody's hand and then he slapped him. And Tony Khan promised Greensboro the next time AEW is back here, we're going to do Cody against Hook, one-on-one. So I propose this. What if the idea is to build to a Greensboro return in the spring? And you know what? It doesn't even have to be in Greensboro. You could still give Greensboro that match when you come back eventually. It doesn't even have to be there. It could be Vegas for Double or Nothing. But what if the idea is to build to a match with Hook being the one to beat Cody for the TNT title? Now, I know that sounds premature. This kid has had literally 2 matches on TV. But Bill Goldberg had his first television match on Nitro in September of 1997. And by April of 98, he was the United States champion and on his way to bigger and better things. And I only use that comparison. I'm not comparing Hook to Bill Goldberg. He's going to be the next Goldberg. I'm not saying that. I use that comparison to illustrate that the people will dictate what and who they want to see. Who is over and who is not over, which is one of the things I fucking hated about the Thunderdome era, which is that it was no longer up to you and I as far as who's over and who's not based on audience reaction. It was up to 2 idiots in the back who decided everything. We're putting all our faith and trust in 2 old guys in the back to tell us who's over and who's not. That was the worst thing about the Thunderdome era. But that's something that the people will dictate. And as good as Hook has looked in his first 2 matches, in 6 months, he'll be even better. And if he's still over to this audience at the level that he has been, top-selling t-shirt on Pro Wrestling Tees and all that, and if he's still winning matches, and again, you might think, well, this Hook stuff is going to just die down. You know what? I thought the same thing about Orange Cassidy. But whether you like the guy or not, Orange Cassidy is still one of the more over babyfaces in the entire company. Which is why he's featured as much as he is on TV. It wasn't just a fad. People like Orange Cassidy. The guy has this weird shtick. Give it a few months and the people will be over it. People were saying that 2 years ago. And he's still a big star for them today. So who's to say that in 6 months, the Hook fever that you see online isn't even bigger than it is today? So if that's still going on, and this kid's still going out there and winning matches, hasn't lost yet, Cody against Hook for the TNT title could be a real thing that happens. He could be a hero to all these people, taking the championship off of Cody Rhodes. Don't forget how Hook debuted on television. It was a little over a year ago in a segment where his father choked out Cody with the Taz mission. After Cody made a crack about how Taz's son, he's not training to become a wrestler with you, he's training to become a wrestler with me. He was training with Cody. I don't know if that's legit or if that was just for storyline purposes. He may have been training with Cody at the Nightmare Factory. But he was training with Cody. There's a history there. Now, the tables have turned. Cody is the hated one, and Hook has become this phenomenon that's just taken on a life of its own. People were just having fun with it. And then he stepped into the ring for his first match, and something bizarre happened. He was really good. And he was really good again this week. 5 or 6 more months of being really good, and 6 more months of an increasingly delusional Cody Rhodes could have the makings of a special moment and launching a new star. It's just an idea. But I am taking a wait-and-see approach on this Cody win to see exactly how this plays out. I am very much in the middle on this. I don't completely hate it, but I don't also sit here and lavish love upon it either, because it depends where they go from here. Does Cody need the TNT title? He doesn't. And I hate that Sammy's run is over. But I have to take a wait-and-see approach because there is a way where this could pay off in a big way in a few months, and you can launch a new star.